Hello, boys and girls. I am here with Mrs. Lubitz again, and we are going to be finishing The Night at Dawn. When we last left off, we saw this shiny knight in armor. Do you think he's going to help Jack and Annie, or will he capture them or something? Okay, let's get started to find out.
Woohoo!
Chapter 9, Under the Moon. Jack froze. "It's him," Annie whispered. The knight held out his gloved hand. "Come on, Jack," Annie said. "Where are you going?" said Jack. "He wants to help us," said Annie. "How do you know?" said Jack. "I can just tell," said Annie. Annie stepped toward the horse. The knight dismounted. The knight picked Annie up and put her on the back of his horse. "Come on, Jack," Annie called. Jack moved slowly towards the knight. The knight lifted him up too, and put him on the horse behind Annie. The knight then got on behind them. He slapped the reins.
He slapped the reins. The black horse cantered beside the moonlit water of the moat. Jack rocked back and forth in the saddle. The wind blew his hair. He felt very brave and very powerful. He felt as if he could ride forever on this horse with this mysterious knight over the ocean, over the world, over the moon. A hawk shrieked in the darkness. "There's the tree house," said Annie. She pointed toward a grove of trees.
The knight guided the horse toward the trees. "See, there it is," Annie said, pointing to the ladder. The knight brought his horse to a stop. He dismounted and helped Annie and Jack down. "Thank you, sir," Annie said. She bowed. "Thank you," Jack said. He bowed too. The knight got back on his horse. He raised his gloved hand, then slapped the reins and rode off through the mist. Annie started up the tall ladder, and Jack followed. They climbed the dark treehouse and looked out the window. The knight was riding towards the outer wall of the castle. They saw him go through the outer gate. Clouds started to cover the moon again. For a brief moment Jack thought he saw the knight's armor gleaming on the top of a hill beyond the castle. The clouds covered the moon completely. A black mist swallowed the land. "He's gone," whispered Annie. Jack shivered in his wet clothes and kept staring at the blackness. "I'm cold," said Annie. "Where's the Pennsylvania book?" Jack heard Annie fumbling in the darkness. He kept looking out the window. "I think this is it," said Annie. "I feel a silk bookmark." Jack was only half listening. He was hoping to see the knight's armor gleam again in the distance. "Okay, I'm going to use this," said Annie, "because I think this is the right one. Here goes. Okay, I'm pointing. I'm going to make a wish. I wish we could go to Frog Creek." Jack heard the wind begin to blow softly. "I hope I pointed to the right picture in the right book," said Annie. "What?" Jack looked back at her. "Right picture? Right book?" The treehouse began to walk. The wind got louder and louder. "I hope it wasn't the dinosaur book," said Annie. "Stop!" Jack shouted at the treehouse. Too late. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Where could they be going?
Then everything was still, absolutely still. Chapter 10. One mystery solved. The air was warm. It was dawn. Far away, a dog barked. "I think that's Henry barking," said Annie. Jack and Annie both looked out of the treehouse window. "We're home," said Annie. "Yay!" "That was close," said Jack. In the distance, streetlights glowed near their house. There was a light on in the upstairs window. "Uh-oh," said Annie. "I think Mom and Dad are up. Hurry!" "Wait!" In a daze, Jack opened his pack. He pulled out the castle book. It was quite wet. Jack placed it back with all the other books. "Come on," said Annie. She started climbing out of the treehouse. Jack followed her down the rope ladder.
They reached the ground and took off running between the gray-black trees. They left the woods and ran down their quiet street. They got to their yard and crept across the lawn. They opened the front door carefully and slipped inside their house. "They're not downstairs yet," whispered Annie. "Shh," said Jack. He led the way up the stairs and down the hall. There was no sign of their mom or dad. but Jack could hear water running in the bathroom. Their house was so different from the dark, cold castle. It was safe and cozy and friendly. Annie stopped at her bedroom door. She gave Jack a smile, then disappeared inside her room. Jack hurried into his room. He took off his damp clothes and put on his dry, soft pajamas. He sat down on his bed and opened his backpack. He took out his wet notebook. He felt around for the pencil, but his hand touched something else. Jack pulled the blue leather bookmark out of his pack. It must have fallen out of the castle book. Jack held the bookmark close to his lamp and studied it. The leather was smooth and worn. It seemed ancient. For the first time, Jack noticed a letter on the bookmark. It was a fancy M. Jack opened the drawer next to his bed. He took out the gold medallion. He looked at the letter on it. It was the same M. Now this was an amazing new fact. Jack took a deep breath. At least that was one mystery solved. The person who had dropped the gold medallion in the time of the dinosaurs was the same person who owned all of the books in the treehouse. Who was the person? Jack placed the bookmark next to the medallion. He closed the drawer. Jack picked up his pencil. He turned to the least wet page in his notebook, then started to write down this new fact. The same.
But before he could draw the M, his eyes closed. Jack dreamed they were they were with the knight again. All three of them were riding the black horse through the cool, dark night. They rode beyond the outer wall of the castle and up over a moonlit hill. Then they all rode into the mist. All right, that's the end, boys and girls. We hoped you enjoyed this. Remember, make sure you read all these chapters a few times, and then you can go and take a reading counts test on the story. But make sure you read all the chapters before you take your quiz. We hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to book 3.
Bye.